Hi, Ope. Welcome. I know a bit about you, but I know that our viewers want to know more. So, tell us a bit about yourself. Who is Ope, and what is the big differentiator for Ope as a person?
Differentiator. So my name is Ope Onaboye. Currently, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Renda Africa, a logistics and fulfillment tech-enabled company based in Nigeria and also now Kenya. Um, I've been an entrepreneur for the past 14 years. So own two other companies. One called Protein International, another one called 360 Verify. So I've been doing this for 14 years. So I think that's, for me, if that's a differentiation, if that's a differentiator, maybe, right. But for me, I think what is important to me is just understanding problems and solving them, right? Every business I've always built, I've always been born out of a problem that I probably faced or probably seen. So I don't really set out to build a certain kind of company. So I didn't set out to build a logistic company with Renda. I set out to solve the problem that I saw, and it turned out to be. Don't be so focused on your solution, but be obsessed with the problem you're solving, because that's really what matters. That's what got you started. So I think for me, that's one of the things that that's my philosophy as an entrepreneur, and that's what I've always focused on the past 14 years. So I've been doing this for 14 years. Grew up in London, moved to Nigeria in 2015, I think. And the idea was to come and save Nigeria. But I don't think I've succeeded in doing that. 9 years into the journey, I'm not sure I've succeeded in saving the country yet. But yeah,
I mean, you've done something considerable. Yes, I think you have.
Yeah, we're still an underdeveloped country, so there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of problems to solve. So I think that's what's important for me. So that's what I've done over the last 14 years. Across board. And I think with Renda, it was a problem I saw with a friend of mine who was really struggling. I mean, she had just started a business at the time. This was around the pandemic. And at that time, coincidentally, at that time, I had just started sort of, stepping down a bit, stepping away from protein gradually. I had done protein for 10 years at the time. And I said, okay, I want to take on a new challenge. And I think, she had just started a business. And I saw how she was struggling with logistics, how she was struggling with fulfillment, how she was struggling with storage, with inventory management, with order processing. And again, I didn't understand logistics or anything like that, but I just saw that problem and I thought I wanted to solve it. So I think that was where that passion came from, seeing how one person, I thought if one person is struggling with this, imagine how many people are struggling with the same problem. So for me, it was just identifying that problem. And then, I hadn't built a tech company before, right? But I knew that. And the good thing was over the years we've evolved a lot, right? From that small problem we started to solve, we've evolved a lot to becoming this big company this startup that is growing fast that we are today. So I think it's that lack of specific background has really helped me, and it hasn't limited me to be able to do one thing, right? And it just means that I can wake up tomorrow and say I want to solve a different problem, and there's no limitation about it. So I think that's the reason why I can easily move from one industry to another without sort of limitation, because there's nothing that's holding me back and saying this is where I am, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Interesting. So let's peel back the layer a bit, right? Before Protein, I know you said your background is it was a generalist background, not necessarily specialist. But what were you doing before Protein? What were you doing when you moved back, or even before you moved back?
I actually didn't take on any corporate work. That's the funny thing. I've always knew I wanted to do my own thing. So I remember I had just finished university. This was 2009. I just finished university, and I just wanted to do something. So I remember, I took on this estate agency business, right? And I just started, and I remember going to my friend's house and printing out my first business card on his printer, because I didn't have money to, to really do anything. And I was just like, you know what? Hey, print out this was like at night. Hey, print out this business card for me. And the idea at the time was, I realized that a lot of people had properties that they wanted to let out, and the idea, the process of letting it out was very difficult for them, and it was very challenging. So I just started going online and just saying, hey, you know what? I think that you have your property. I can help you let it out. I can find you tenants, and that's how I started off. And and this was a business I did for like a year or so. And I just, I would just go to people's property and be like, hey, your property is available for rent. I have tenants that need this property. So I started with that, and then from then I just realized that a lot of people just kept on coming to me and saying, "Hey, I will like what you're doing. I'd like to start my own business, blah blah blah." And that's where the idea for Protein basically came about. I saw that a lot of people just wanted to start their own businesses and they didn't know how to. So we started doing conferences at the time, and that's where it started from. It just started by all just running conferences, workshops, helping people to either get into business or get into their career path they wanted to do. This was like back in 2010. But over the year, then it evolved, right? It evolved. It became much more structured. Then I brought it to Nigeria because I remember coming to Nigeria. I was invited to Nigeria to speak in 2013. I think it was about LBS at a conference. They had a conference for youths back in 2013. So they invited me to come and speak in Nigeria. And so when I came, I was like, oh, okay, there's an opportunity here, And then that was really where I started thinking about moving back. Right. I remember, speaking at that conference, and you just had like a lot of people coming to meet you and say, hey, I'd written a book at the time. So people came to me and said, this thing you're doing, we really want you to like, so I got fed up of living in the UK. And said, okay, let me come and try this thing out. And everybody thought I was a bit crazy because they didn't understand why you would live a comfortable life and come and, and come and build something. Tell them that you want to come and, I mean, it's not like you have an uncle or you have a family member here that you're coming to meet, right? But yeah, I think for me, it was just the opportunity that I saw that existed here and what I felt could be done. So that was it. I mean, so just a lot of gradual things. I've tried my hand in quite a few things, actually. Yeah, I'm up to where I am today. But I mean, alongside Protein at the time, I tried my hand in a couple of things here and there. I've done the marketing agency, this, that. Some of them I just, didn't quite work out. Some of, and a couple of them, yeah. So I think it's just been a journey of just trying my hands in different things, to be honest.
Okay, so interesting that that your part is so different from what the norm is, right? So would you say that some people are born, entrepreneurial, like that's their goal, right? They don't even want to try out any other thing, or would you say it's something that you learned, or you figured that the landscape at that time was manageable enough to start something?
So I mean, people are born with traits of an entrepreneur, right? Because being an entrepreneur is tough. It's really tough. It's not about setting up a company or building a website or whatever, right? It's tough. Like you need to have certain traits, right? You need to have, resilience. You need to have, you need to be a visionary. So you need to be someone that can set out a clear vision. You need to be a natural leader, right? For you to be able to succeed as an entrepreneur, you need to really be a leader. You must, like that's resilience, that ability to just focus, right? That ability to be able to constantly adapt to different things because the world has changed a lot. Think about the last 4 years. We faced pandemic, we faced devaluation, we faced increase in cost, we faced so many things that have shut down a lot of businesses, right? So I think there are traits that a natural entrepreneur must have, right? And that is like the foundation, right? Can you learn entrepreneurship? You can, right? Same way you can learn leadership. You can, you can train yourself to become a better leader. But I think people that are successful entrepreneurs today are people that they already have those inbuilt sort of characteristics within them, those traits within them, right? Those soft skills, so those soft traits that are required. Of course, you can learn. I mean, I've only done BSc. My education is up to BSc. If I'm gonna do anything, education is probably gonna be. I don't believe that you can really learn how to become a successful business person in school. Right. I'm one of those people that think that because you have an MBA, you're going to become a successful business person. I never believe that. Right. I believe that no matter what the school teaches you, I could tell from school that I had a flair for business because I studied computer science with business. So I learned a lot in computer science, but I succeeded more in business, right? Even though I studied computer science. So I saw that I learned, I was a natural when it came to the business side of my course. So, but my point is, after that, I haven't gone back to school to study anything. A lot of things I've learned today are just from a journey. So, I think, and my father was never an entrepreneur. I didn't have an entrepreneur in my family. So, there's nobody to teach me, right? What the business means. So I think that there are those traits in individuals that you know that this person was born to do this, because the process itself is tough, and you have to keep on, sort of drawing within those internal traits, drawing from those internal traits that you have to really help you, those soft traits and etc. So I think, yes, I think the traits that entrepreneurs need, as are born with individuals, but it's just like football. There's some people that have the natural talent, right? As a footballer, and there's some people that have to train and train and train and train, and because of their hard work, they can still become good footballers, and that's how business is as well, right? But but there's some people you would see, and that okay, these people naturally they have the knack for this thing. But entrepreneurship itself is a tough process, so I don't think everybody should just jump and go and do it. And so because I don't think it's for everybody, and I don't think everybody should attempt it. That's my own view of it.
I mean, how would you know if it was for you if you didn't attempt it? I mean, that's another school of thought.
I mean, so for me, right, like I said, I've always, even when I was younger, I mean, even when I was in school, I was always doing certain things, selling recharge cards. I mean, back then, even in the UK, we had like recharge cards, right? Selling recharge cards in school. Just dabbling on different things, right? And I think you would like, for me, I just knew that this is what I wanted to do. I knew that, like my dad believed that I should go and work somewhere. He believed that, he always told me that, hey, I picture you being, in this top management position in organizations, doing this, doing that. So that was his own dream for me, because he knew how smart it was, right? But that was his own vision and that was his own dream. But for me, I knew that, I mean, the same way I wanted to come back to Nigeria. Even though everybody was like, why? My entire family is in the UK. What are you going to do in Nigeria? Why are you there? But again, it's just what I knew that I wanted to do. So I think, like I said, I think when you have those traits, like a leader would typically stand out at every point in time. I always say, even in my own organization, there's a book I read that I like a lot. It's called The Leader That Had No Title, right? And I always think that your leadership ability is not tied to the title that you hold, right? So people believe that because, it's only when you have a title, a natural leader will stand out even when they don't have a title, right? It's the same thing as an entrepreneur, because even when you're working in an organization, you would know those that are very much entrepreneurial driven than those that are followers. Yeah, because you would know when somebody is a leader, when they take ownership, when they handle your business, I think that is their own business. When they, when you can go to sleep knowing that these people will do what they know, you would know people that are natural leaders, people that are natural, So I think people that have the traits for entrepreneurship, you wouldn't struggle to know, right? Because you know how to take responsibility, they know how to take ownership, right? Because you can't be a business, you cannot be a business owner and then you are, what's it called? There's nobody for you to put the blame on life on, right? It's you and your business. You understand? So so there are some people that you even in your own business, you know that if this person is going to leave me, they are definitely going to become a successful CEO or a successful business owner. You can tell. So those traits are very obvious, right? Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I hold the same view. To the next question, how do you balance the demands of running, a rapidly growing business, tech startup, and as well as protein? I don't know if you've stepped down from protein, or how do you manage, balance the demands of both, businesses?
I mean, so both businesses are quite hectic, right? Protein. So Protein and 360 Verify, they have their own CEO. So I stepped away. So I groomed somebody else to become the CEO. So succession planning was always a big thing for me. So I spent like 2 years grooming somebody else. I groomed her from, I sort of took her through the ranks and I groomed her on what I wanted her to understand about the business. Even when I was stepping down, I didn't sort of step down immediately. So there was that whole grooming process, right?
Yeah.
So they have their own CEOs now. I don't directly manage them, even though I still own them, right? But so right now I'm fully running Renda. So that's really where I am right now.
So what milestone are you really proud of?
Well, with Renda?
Yeah, with Renda, I know Renda is still very fresh, but even with Protein as well, you can go as
I'll speak with Renda because that's what I'm currently involved in. I think one of our biggest obvious milestone was the fundraise, right? And I think it's not just about fundraising. It's the fact that we're in a tough climate, right? Having to raise capital in a climate where everybody else is unable to raise capital. And also, if you think about it, how many logistic companies are really raising money? I mean, the only two I can really remember in Nigeria is Just and Chowdeck, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know how much of a struggle it was. So I think, for us, it's very much about, and I think that's just is the testament to how we are perceived, how our business, how our business is perceived by external stakeholders, and also the belief in our abilities, not just my own ability, but also the team that are driving the business. Because I can only go far by myself, no matter how good I am, right? So it's also about the people that are also working on this with me. So I think that was a good milestone. That was a very important one. To be honest, I remember when I first started in 2021. I tried this. I tried this. I didn't even know anything about fundraising. I never raised funds before. And I tried, and it was a brutal failure. I still have those pitch decks that we built then. It was just a brutal failure. We didn't have much traction. It was just really bad. And then 2002. I really tried at the beginning, didn't really try, and then we started towards the end of 2022 was when we now started getting traction. That was when we got into Techstars, right? And then 2023 we started fully fundraising. So yeah, so I think it's just because of the journey. I think that was like a big, that was like a big milestone for us. That was like probably our number one milestone as a business. Yeah.
Yeah. So what did you learn? I'm interested in what were your learning points.
Learning.
Starting it.
No, that has to be that has to be a podcast. That has to be a podcast on its own. You can.
Specifically for fun. Know that you said you guys didn't really get it at first, and then eventually it became something that you understood and mastered eventually.
So I think it's just life in general. Like I said, in entrepreneurship, I think there's those traits that you need to have. One of them is resilience. One of them is patience. One of them is, that ability to just focus on what you want to do. Fundraising. There were times during fundraising process where I broke down, where tears came out of my eyes because it was just tough. Yeah, people don't see it. Like people don't. You just hear someone say, "I've raised capital." You don't understand what that person went through. You don't know how many no's that person got. How many people that were nearly there and they pulled out. How many people were like, oh, really like what you're doing, but somebody else internally said no. So, it's an emotional and mental wreck, the process of fundraising. Especially when you're fundraising for a business that's not pretty. Maybe not like a fintech that everybody's just shouting about, but it's logistic company that is. Yeah. And it's just that is extremely needed, but people don't rate it. Right. So you're like that girlfriend that people don't really rate. And you're like, oh, that we need you, but do we really rate you? Not really. Yeah. So you have to really prove yourself for us, you understand? So and that's what it is. So yeah. So I think the biggest, right now, if you wake me up in the middle of the night to pitch, I'll pitch the business to you without even thinking twice. And I think that's the beauty of the process, is the fact that you become a better person. You become much more of a solid person through that process. And I think it's less about the result. It's more about, so now moving into the seed round, the way I would pitch Renda, the way I would design our processes, the way I would tell our story is different compared to when I started raising that pre-seed. So I think that's one of the things I really, really learned. It's just I was telling somebody that messaged me just 2 days ago saying she got rejected by a VC. And I told her, I said, you know what? Allow yourself to go through the process. Allow yourself to grow through the process. You can't bypass that growth, right? Because you learn a lot. But I think for us, it's just learning that. For me, if there's one thing I've learned through fundraising, people saying no is not necessarily because you're not doing the right thing. Because sometimes we attach the no's to what we are building and say because somebody said no, we are failing. No, sometimes people just don't get what you're doing at the beginning. Right. Somebody sent me a message yesterday about a VC that turned us down now came back to come and meet one of our investors saying, oh, I really love what Renda is doing. We love the leadership team. Really love what Ope is doing. I'm like, hold on. We spoke to you guys early last year. You guys turned us down. Now this person literally came to 2 of our VCs. And the 2 VCs sent a message saying, this person came to speak to us about you guys, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, but you people turned us down. But you understand? But that's the thing. Sometimes people don't get what you're doing at the beginning, and that's okay. So sometimes it's up to you to convince people that you understand what you're doing. That you understand your focus. Yeah. So I think not to take things personal, not to take rejection personal, right? It's just part of the entire process. So I think that's one of the things I learned, to be honest.
Yes, I wish that this conversation could go on longer, but we have quite a short time to go. So yeah, you've answered some questions indirectly, and so I want to know what are your next steps, right? I know seed route raising that you're going to next. So what are your next steps in the other aspects of the business, expansion and the rest?
I mean, I think right now our immediate next steps are sort of we've just launched open our Kenya office, so we want to do like our East African expansion. That's like the number one thing right now. Of course, there's also plans for expansion into other parts of Africa as well, maybe north, south, but I think East is where our focus is right now. Another thing that we're doing is also working on our tech solution. So so we are sort of infusing AI, predictive.
Yeah, I was wondering. Yeah, how that would do merge in first place.
Yeah, I mean, we've built like a very robust tech platform. So we have like 4 apps in one. We have a driver, partner app, customer app, admin app. So right now we're trying to optimize and automate the entire process, right? To make it much more artificial intelligence driven. We're also launching our VAS solution. So like for our drivers and our partners, we're launching a bouquet of VAS solutions where drivers can access a lot of our products on credit. So being able to buy fuel, being able to buy parts for their vehicles, health insurance, get access to credit. But everything will be powered by this sort of credit and finance infrastructure, right? So driver can pay it out over a period of time. So we are launching that out soon. Yeah, and I think those are like the critical things that we're doing as a business of expansion, of course, growth across Nigeria as well. I think right now we're currently in about 23 states. We want to cover the entire country before the end of the year, so that at least our services can be accessible. So right now it's expansion, tech, optimization, and also sort of rolling out our vast product for our partners and our drivers.
Okay, so we have 1 minute left, right? And I want you to just let founders that are seeing what you're doing and want like a guidance, like what advice would you leave with other founders?
I mean, I think it's just we're in a very peculiar period right now, right? I think it's just focusing on the right things. Over the years, founders have sort of found themselves being distracted by the vanity metrics. So you see people shouting GMV, GMV, GMV. Investors now are looking at profitability. They're looking at strong unit economics. They're looking at businesses that can really be sustainable. So my advice to founders is from day one, be clear about what profitability looks like. Know how your business is going to become profitable. Know what that journey looks like. Get customers, make money. The period of pre-revenue funding is behind us. So you need to ensure that you're making money with customers. So focus on the basics and let's just go back to fundamentals so that we don't just raise capital for the sake of it. So I think that's my advice to entrepreneurs. If you're going to come in, just focus on the key and the right things that a business should be focused on. Customers, making money and becoming profitable. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Ope. So it's going to end in time soon and I'll reach out